Khan here, 4 seconds out in Riyadh with Gareth A Davies. Gareth, globe-trotting even, as usual. First floor of the interview, great. But nonetheless, good to see you. You flown in from
Bangkok.
Bangkok.
Via Manila, where I was doing Crypto Fight Night, presenting that in Manila at the Crypto Fight Night conference. So what were there, 8 fights, 10 Filipino fighters, and then the crypto guys fighting. Very interesting. Stopping off in Bangkok on the way, got the call to come here, so extended it by a couple of days. Bangkok 7 hours to here, rather than go home 12 hours and then come back 7. So got a nice little hotel for 2 nights there, rooftop pool. I hadn't been to Bangkok for years. Beautiful city. It's really developed. It's like come to Riyadh. I haven't been here since February, and it's changed so much. So yeah, globe trotting. Neither of us can say it today. Globe trotting as always with this global sport, which is so big at the moment.
We've globe trotted to come see 2 of the pound-for-pound talents in Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford. A lot of talk about this fight, and it's finally been signed and sealed, waiting for that delivery coming up later on in the year. But when you think about this matchup and when it was first pitched, did you think it would actually materialise, or it was just one of those Xbox game type of fantasy fights?
No, I pushed for this fight verbally on all the platforms that I work for. As soon as Crawford had fought Errol Spence, I thought it was a fight that really worked. Massive challenge for Terence Crawford. Hello, Richard Schaefer. Lovely to see you. I'll speak to you in a minute. You lost a load of weight. You look really well. The great Richard Schaefer. 30 years I've known that guy. No, because I think it's the ultimate challenge for a talent like Terence Crawford's. And for me, it's a Marvin Hagler, Sugar Ray Leonard type matchup where you've got a guy who's got incredible abilities in fistic chess, incredible IQ, probably, I'd say, since the end of Mayweather, probably a guy with one of the greatest IQs in boxing, very, very flexible in the way he fights, an ability to win rounds, to not overstretch himself in fights. We saw that with Madrimov. People criticise him for his victory and that he struggled. I don't think he struggled. I think he's a guy who works opponents out when he's in there in the ring. And I think he could pull off an almighty victory and become an all-time great if he beats Saul Canelo Alvarez. I think it's great that Turki Al-Sheikh's come along at this time, and that's what's made this fight possible. So I've advocated for this fight for a very long time. A lot of people poo-pooed this fight and said, what are you talking about? They're too far apart in weight divisions. But as we can see with Terence's body, even though he started around lightweight, his body is capable of fighting at light middle, and obviously this one's at 12 stone. So it's a big challenge for him, but I think he's capable of beating Canelo.
Boxing consensus, whenever this fight is discussed, it seems to be that Canelo has lost a step from his peaking. Naturally, that will happen because fighters age and they can't get to where they were when they were younger. But is that what's closed the gap between them, or is it the natural abilities of either fighter that will be the telling factor?
Yeah, I think Canelo's more flat-footed than this. Isn't the guy than he used to be. This isn't the guy who in 2018 was able to get on his bike for a couple of rounds when he was hurt against Gennady Golovkin in the fight that most of us had Golovkin winning. That's a long time ago now, 7 years ago. He's been much more convincing in those 2 fights with Golovkin since then. 67 fights on the clock. A defeat to the great Dmitry Bivol. He loads up a lot more now. He's not as much of a volume puncher as he was at one time, which is why I'm giving him the opportunity to win against, to lose. Why I'm giving Crawford the opportunity to win this fight, in my mind. I think Canelo is just on the other side of his peak. I don't think he's got that many fights left. If this fight's close, I could see them doing it again if there's a split decision here or if it's controversial. But I think if Crawford gets hit, he's going to not have been hit by anyone as hard as Canelo will hit him. But I think, he is on the slide is probably the wrong expression, but he's probably slightly over the hill. Slightly. marginally over the hill, whereas I think Crawford's probably at the peak of his powers, even though he's 38.
Push you into prediction for this one?
Yeah, Crawford, narrow points victory, controversial, and they'll probably fight again.
What do you think about, it seems like the new era shift into boxing seems to be looking to make as big a fights as possible, irrespective of, or at least trying to push the weight boundaries as much as possible. This is one of those. Eubank Jr. versus Ben was another of those, and that had a lot of kind of controversy surrounding it. But do you feel that this is the way that boxing is going to go in the next few years? And is that something that you feel can work, or will there be too much of a drawback from making those top fights?
I think one of the interesting things is going to be what kind of, if there are any weight restrictions on rehydration for Canelo in this fight. I haven't heard there are any. I mean, if you recall, when he fought Amir Khan, I think he was 24, maybe even 26 pounds heavier than Amir Khan on the night. Virgil Hunter was worried about Amir Khan in that fight and said he had to do all the right things for every second of every minute of every round. And obviously, once Amir's punches were bouncing off Canelo like bees on a windscreen on the motorway, Canelo just decided to load up and obviously knocked Amir Khan out viciously. Ben and Eubank really delivered in terms of an entertainment. If they do it again, I think there should be less restriction on the rehydration for Chris Eubank. Obviously, he's got to go in front of the board over using the sauna to almost make the weight. Cadbury's cream egg cost him whatever it was, a huge financial fine. Yeah, I mean, I think Turki Al-Sheikh has shown he's got those ambitions. I think he was wanting to put Bivol in with Opataya at one point. Again, not sure about that one, but stylistically, yes. Weight divisions for a reason, always. But as I said earlier, I think Sugar Ray Leonard had the skills to go up and fight Marvin Hagler at middleweight, as you know, as a welterweight. So, and that fight really worked. It was one of the great all-time fights. So I think this is that. I don't agree it's the fight of the century. I think the fight of the century financially so far, it may turn out to be an amazing fight. I think there will be massive global interest in it. I think Netflix is a great landing strip for the fight. It shows the ambition they've got. I didn't like to see them fraternising, but Turki Al-Sheikh loves to get the fighters together and he's pushing those PR opportunities. Neither man's given too much trash talk. So I don't know if we're going to get that kind of viral rubbernecking that we sometimes get with certain people, but who knows? Maybe we can help to ignite them. But you've got to enjoy this fight. It's a purist fight. As I say, the jeopardy's all for Canelo. And I think if Crawford can win it, he goes down as an all-time legend.
You remember many fighters having dinners, maybe post-fight, but not pre-fight with each other. Normally they're at each other's throats as opposed to a plate.
But this is something that Turki Al-Sheikh does. So if you recall, he had a dinner at his ranch. Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder, Joseph Parker, Francis Ngannou. Remember that picture with all of those guys? So it's just how he does it. He's different. He's a different guy. He's a different creative genius. So that's the form here. That's what they do in Riyadh. He likes to have them. He likes to show his influence. He is the most influential figure in the whole of the sport. And as you'll know, and it's an obvious thing to say, but in the last 18 months, 20 months, he has transformed the heavyweight division. And we're all talking about the top 20 now. Everybody knows the top 20 names. Everybody knows there's brilliant fights to be made. You know, the algorithm is weird in boxing because there are 4 sanctioning belts, sanctioning bodies. So it's never going to be a perfect meritocracy. Joseph Parker's sitting out at the moment. Ajit Kabayel's sitting out. We've got to wait for Dubois Usyk. But Turki Al-Sheikh has literally shaken up the heavyweight division in the last 20 months. I think we need to be thankful to him.
Onto the heavyweight division, recently announced card which features at the top of it Dillian Whyte and Moses Itauma, and Dillian Whyte, whichever way you want to shake it.
I noticed you did both.
Yeah.
One out of respect.
Well,
and, you know.
That's right. And but there's been, I would say, if my finger is on the pulse of boxing, a little bit of surprise that Dillian Whyte has taken this fight, especially in the offering of potentially the Joshua rematch happening or other fights. Lawrence Okoli was whispered, Joe Parker as well was whispered too. Did you share the same surprise that Dillian has gone this route to take on Itauma?
Yeah, I think they were close to making Joseph Parker for him, for Dillian Whyte. I think what you can read into it, the fact it's going to be here in Riyadh on August the 16th, as part of Riyadh's season, is a sign that the purses will be big. They're not going to be small purses over here. So Dillian's probably being handsomely paid. I would estimate he's going to be getting, I don't know, but I imagine that he's going to be getting a couple of million for it. Good payday, dangerous fight for him. I favour Moses Itauma in the fight on hand speed and what we've seen so far. I think I'd rank Moses number 10 in the world, even though he's so inexperienced at the moment. I think he's capable of beating a lot of people. Moses has got to stay away from that hellacious hook, left hook particularly.
I think he's still got that left hook.
Oh yeah, but I think the danger for Dillian Whyte in this instance is the footwork and the hand speed of Moses Itauma. In spite of his inexperience, but the names work together. It's a notch up for Moses, given who Dillian Whyte's faced. So it works. It works as a headline event. But I don't want to write Dillian off, but I think Moses is a big favourite for me.
No, I agree with you, and I wouldn't want to do that either in this heavyweight game. Anything can happen, exactly. Change on a sixpence. But Dillian looked so far removed from his peak in the fight with Ebenezer Tete. And I get as well, in terms of the matchmaking perspective, you can look at it as there's obviously a lot of money on the table, and Moses Itauma has been put in a position high in the rankings as well, so they can
number one WBO.
Exactly, so they can roll the dice.
So that's another reason for Dillian taking the fight. That's another reason, because if he beats Moses, he's there. Then he's made a bit of money, or a good chunk of money. He's beaten a guy who's on the rise. He's signalled that he's still around, and he's beaten the number one in the WBO. So, yes.
So if we play with it this way, Okoli, Parker, Chisora, Joshua, Itauma, of those names, which do you think is the most 50-50?
Sorry, I'm not following the question.
So, with the options that were reportedly on the table, or the routes that he could have gone, Joe Parker, Anthony Joshua, Lawrence Okoli, Derek Chisora, Moses Itauma.
Derek Chisora
was the most 50-50.
Yeah.
Which is where the surprise come from, to not go to search for that.
That fight was being talked about as well in the background. I think they were very close to signing Parker against Dillian Whyte, having speaking to people behind the scenes. But I think Joseph Parker will end up fighting Derek Chisora.
What do you think about that one as well?
I like it. I think Parker's a favourite. He's brilliant at the moment. He needs to get back in the ring as well. Been out for too long.
What about Chisora's chances to pull off the upset?
You can't write Derek off. Look at the win against Joe Joyce and the win against Otto Wallin. And I make this analogy. If Anthony Joshua had beaten in his last two fights Joe Joyce and Otto Wallin, people would be talking about he should be having a world title fight next. So you understand Derek calling for a world title shot. He continues to surprise us. He's still got some petrol in the tank. So, but I see Joseph Parker as a favourite if that fight happens.
Carl Frotcher is here, of course. Imagine looking to speak with the pound-for-pound talents, and that will be for sure an interesting conversation. But he's been very vocal in where he feels about Anthony Joshua and where he is in his career off the back of the Daniel Dubois crushing defeat. A lot of that maybe stems from the departure of Joshua's from Robert McCracken, his long-time trainer that they shared, a bit of loyalty.
Though, isn't it? We don't know that. I think Carl's got his own mind on things. I've just had it out with him here in the lobby of the St Regis, and I disagree with him because Anthony Joshua could have 3 more fights and still earn another 120 million quid if he gets 2 victories or 3 victories. So, if he fights Tyson Fury, it's a big payday. If he fights Deontay Wilder, it's a big payday. If Wilder comes through against Herndon next weekend, still like to see that. Still like to see Wilder and Joshua in a ring together.
Is that the hold-up, the Herndon fight? See if Wilder's got any of what
He
is...
needs some optics. He didn't look good in his last 2 fights. Didn't look like he could pull the trigger. He says he can again. We will see against Herndon. And if he gets a knockout, or if he looks decent, I think it wouldn't surprise me to see Joshua and Wilder in a ring.
Either way, your friend and colleague Simon Jordan kind of spins Joshua, Fury and others in a fight as battle of the losers. Is it lost that shine? Has it gone down to that depth?
It's all semantics, isn't it? You can call them battle of the losers if you want to, but, it didn't stop. Foreman fought Frazier, Foreman fought Ali, Frazier fought Ali. They all mixed in that period. You don't just because you've lost doesn't mean you're not a winner still, or the matchup isn't still worth being made. He's saying that because Usyk's beaten both Joshua and Fury twice, but it's still a very resonant fight in the era because it still defines where each man will sit against each other in the era. They don't need a belt to fight each other. As you know, it's still a massive fight in the UK. It would sell out Wembley, and it would be front, centre and back of all the media, digital, mainstream media, everywhere. It's a massive event because those two have been on, parabola, but never really met. A bit like Wilder and Joshua have been talking about that fight for 7 years. 2018, that was first mooted. So I don't agree it's battle of the losers. You can say battle of the losers to Usyk, but these guys are not losers. They're incredibly successful human beings who are still worthy of top 10 rankings in the heavyweight division.
Do you still speak to Tyson as regularly? Have you reached out to him and asked him if he's coming back?
I left him alone. I talked to his team. I talked to people that work for him. Now I'm leaving him alone. He wants to be left alone right now. Well, he's topless in a kilt at the moment, isn't he, for his Netflix series. So, no, I haven't spoken to him. I'll leave him alone. I haven't sent him a message. I'm leaving him alone.
Fair enough. And last and final thing, Gareth, there's a number of topics we could discuss, but I want to leave off on this one. I'm sure we'll get your thoughts on a couple of things in the coming weeks. But first interview I've done with you since the passing of Colin Hart, which is still a hole that's been left in the boxing scene, is obviously big shoes to fill, and every journalist will want to help fill those shoes. But what legacy does he leave, in your own words?
Well, for me, he was like a father in boxing, and I had a very, very close personal relationship with Colin. He was a mentor to me for 25 years, to the point where, we'd chat on a Monday morning after events. He read all your work. He read 5 papers every day, and he'd say, "Oh, son, don't forget about this," or "Don't forget about that." And, in the last 10 years of his life, we would just talk through things like a Monday debrief, if you like. I went for lunch with him many times. I've been to his home. Very, very sad passing. Never had a mobile phone. Was an insomniac, so you could chat at 11 o'clock at night to him. Sometimes we'd chat till 1 in the morning. Fantastic knowledge, and he for me, he was involved in 4 or 5 massive eras, 60 years penning reports on boxing, going back to the days when they used to dictate on the phone, running copy. A wonderful man, a great friend and a mentor. And like you say, he's left a big gap because he was like the grandfather of the media, still doing it in his late 80s. Say columns for The Sun for nearly 60 years. He really was a voice for boxing.
Well said, Gareth. Thanks for speaking to us out, and catch up very soon. Come on.
Cheers.
We're like Dev and AJ there. Yeah. Like Dev and AJ. Fist bump.